Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Still having trouble finding the mute switch. Everyone, welcome to the program. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and I hope you are having a fantastic day because we have a great show planned for you with computer and technology news, and we have some other things to talk about, but we'll take care of those first in the show, and then we'll head into the articles and things. And don't worry, lots going on. It's going to be a really fun show, and before we get started, computeramerica.com. By the way, today it is October 24th. We just redesigned the website again. I know I'm never happy with it, and it just went live last night. So some of you may have already gotten a peek at it, but we highly encourage you to go over and check out Computer America. And really, the goal of this one was, last time it was ease on myself, and I realized, maybe that's not the best design strategy. So this time we're going for content. We're hoping that this helps you find relevant content that you like and, just makes it easier to navigate the website. So everyone, once again, computeramerica.com, that will have everything, including the show notes. It will have links to any articles. It will have just anything and everything. The next section that we're going to be renovating, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, maybe over the weekend if I'm feeling really, really lazy, is going to be the free software section, because it used to be called the recommended software, but we are moving away from that. And hey, everyone loves free. Of course, it's always free to listen to Computer America, but we also like to turn you on to great free and open source projects. So that's going to be the next section that we focus on. If you have any recommendations, feel free to reach out on social media at Computer America, wherever you'd like. And everyone, go ahead and do that. So, let's see. So, computeramerica.com, computer technology news is what we're going to be doing today. Hopefully everyone out there is, I should also mention, this is part of the kind of before the show kind of thing. We just published about 10 minutes ago before the program. If you're watching the video portion, I'm going to hold it up here for the camera. Let's see, right there. And yeah, Pale Blue batteries. It's a solution for all the battery waste that goes on. Trust me, when we, work with technology, a lot of products out there are powered by internal lithium-ion batteries, although a lot of technology is also powered by really disposable alkaline AA's and AAA's. Yes, I know. It still goes into so many products out there. And, buying those batteries in bulk, it's convenient. It's pretty cost effective. I mean, really, the amount of batteries that you get, it's, you can get really good deals on them. But a couple of issues with disposable batteries is, of course, the obvious, which is the fact that you're not supposed to throw them away in the trash. I know that a lot of you do. I know that you just open up your kitchen trash or something and just drop them in. But That's not how it's supposed to go. You're supposed to take them to the proper recycling facility centers. You slap into Google, you find some, somewhere to properly dispose of these batteries. And so many people don't, so they end up in landfills. They're very, very polluting. They're very, very bad for the environment. And so with Pale Blue, I'm hoping that I find my battery consumption lower. And they're not just rechargeable because, there's a bunch of chemistry that goes into it. They are different than past rechargeable batteries. Trust me, when you buy a rechargeable battery and it only holds its charge for, half or a quarter of what a traditional non-rechargeable battery would, it's a pretty big deterrent. But we found that these actually held their charge for a really long time. In most devices, 2 to 4 AAA or 2 to 4 AA's would actually last you about 6 to 8 hours, which is plenty of runtime. And some of the more convenient factors is that you can of course recharge them, but let's see here on the side of the battery, if you want to take a look, there's a little, the camera doesn't want to focus on it. There's a little micro USB port. That's right. These things are recharged not through some kind of weird wonky doohickey recharger, but through micro USB. So that being said, they're pretty easy to recharge anywhere with a USB port. You can plug in micro USB. Very, very simple. They have a little indicator that shows when it's fully charged. So if you head out on your day by, instead of having like half filled or batteries that you don't know exactly how filled they are, you can just take these out, recharge them overnight or recharge them on the go, and you're good to go. You don't have to waste half a battery. So anyways, that review is up at Computer America over on the left on the recent review section. And we definitely appreciated them for sending these out, and we definitely like, checking them out. So if nothing else, just from the environmental standpoint, I think that so many batteries out there, we need to cut down on how much we throw away. So this is a good step at that. Lasts about 1,000 charge cycles. So they claimed in the time that we received them, we did not have a chance to discharge and recharge these batteries 1,000 times. So we're going to keep doing it. Sometimes when we have reviews and a couple of months or even years down the road, we like to go back and update the reviews. So hey, stick around for a couple of years. We might actually be able to verify that last point. So there you go, Pale Blue. So that was one of them. The other one is also a review, and I wanted to just kind of mention this offhanded because this is not something someone sent into Computer America for review. It was actually a coffee maker, because I find I need more and more coffee to get through my day. It's just I don't know if it's the holidays. I don't know if it's seasonal depressive disorder, whatever it may be. The more coffee, the better. If I could mainline it, trust me, I'd be doing it. But we bought this, it's like carafe, like the main part of the thing is a carafe or a pot, you can make a pot of coffee. And then the side is a single serving. It has a filter and a single serving. You put a single serving of grounds in it. You make 1 cup of coffee. Pretty simple so far. I like it, but I have one big problem with it. Now, I admit, I am no Mensa member. They rejected my application. They said that crayon was not a suitable medium to fill out the form. Who would have thought? But they actually returned the form, the money, all that good stuff. I still get through my day. I can still get through my day as an average person. I don't know what it is, but I think making coffee should be a very simple thing, especially because it's something that people do before they have their coffee. Now, I'm about 2 weeks into this whole process of making a single cup of coffee at a time. Obviously the main craft part of the coffee maker works just fine. Love it. Wouldn't change a thing. But for some reason, the single serving coffee, I get grounds in my coffee every single time. I don't feel like I'm overloading the place where we put the grounds, the filter. I'm not overloading it. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I thought you just put beans, run hot water, or not beans, but grounds. You put grounds, hot water, out comes coffee, you go about your day. there's always just a nice thick layer of detritus at the bottom of my cup, and I don't know what to do about it. So I'm not going to name the particular one, not because I don't want to shame them, but because I don't recall who actually makes the thing. And I don't want to name a company just to, inadvertently, kind of give them some bad press. But coffee machine makers out there, if I can't operate your coffee maker, I don't know if you have a good product, I guess. Because I feel like I'm intelligent enough to make a cup of coffee. But there you go. So, with that being said, everyone, there's my little grievance. There's my little spiel about coffee makers. Everyone, drink coffee. It's good for you. Antioxidants, whatever those are. You don't want oxidants. But I will say, that's a strange opening to the program. But as I said before, and I should also mention some of the upcoming content that we have. I want to give a shout out to Audis. If you haven't heard of Audis, they make amazing headphones. Very, very top of the line, high quality, all synonyms for the word expensive, headphones. These things are not something that you would find, kind of off the shelf, or you would buy, with the idea that you're going to get only a couple months use out of. These things are the headphones that you buy when you're a serious audiophile. You need to hear what you're actually doing. Hey, kind of like for radio. And, these are the ones on the video portion. If you're looking at me poke my head, these are the ones that we've been using for the past, 2 months or so. And they've served me well. I've been very happy with their performance. They're already starting to break up. The faux leather and that kind of thing is already starting to peel. So, very fortuitous timing that Audis sent in some I think it was the LD1s. Audis, the LCD ones for review. So to be clear, these are the LCD ones, not the 24s, which cost $3,500. No, these are probably their more mainstream products, but they're still some of the best headphones that you're going to be able to get for the price range. And of course, Audis, they make headphones that go all the way up to, I think, like $25,000, and those are for music professionals and people who live by their ears. So that review should be coming up here in about a week. We're going to start using them on the program here when we mix our show and things like that. It's going to be a lot of fun to test those out. So we have that. We have a couple of other tchotchkes. We're starting to work on our holiday, not really a gift guide, just some gift ideas that people send in products here to Computer America. We give them a proper shake. If if we like them, we put them up on the website, and definitely want to bring your attention to them. So that's, I think that's about it. We'll go ahead and continue on here with computer and technology news. Again, social media at Computer America, and we'll be sure to answer any questions you may have, comments, concerns. If you'd like to have someone on the show, send us a message, and we'll be sure to do our best to do that. So everyone, here we go. Computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. Let's go ahead and let's start out strong. Let's start out with something that's good. And that's kind of hard to do in the world of tech because so much about technology is about, bad things, sad things, scary things, so on and so forth. Let's talk about something good. And hey, why not Tesla? I didn't even hear about this. A family member of mine actually brought it to my attention yesterday. And it turns out that Tesla had themselves a very, very good day. Tesla stuns with surprise profit and faster progress on new model and factory, which is just what you want to hear because whenever you hear Elon Musk talk about Tesla, he sets these timelines. If you don't recall, I want to say back in like 2014, 2015, he had mentioned that fully autonomous cars were going to be here by 2019. Don't get me wrong, we get that pretty cool parlor trick of having it go park itself or having it navigate to the driver who's standing, let's say, on a sidewalk or something, which, by the way, should only be used on private property, wink, wink. It's cool. We are reaching kit levels of driving. It's amazing. But we're not there yet. And so many of Elon Musk's predictions have been very ambitious. He reaches some of them sometimes, but not all of them all the time. I guess he was having a good day. And hey, investors definitely like this. Maker of the electric cars now expects to launch Model Y SUV by next summer. And its new Gigafactory in China has already started trial production, which is great. I really wish the Gigafactory in the US was already producing batteries, or at least to capacity, but I guess a battery factory in China, second best thing. So this coming to us from The Independent, Tesla proved its critics wrong in its latest set of financial results, unveiling an unexpected profit and record car deliveries. And they announced that it is ahead of schedule on a new model and a new plant. Amazing. And before we go any further into this and talk about how much they earned and how much they went up, I gotta say, Tesla, we just talked about this last week with Derek Shani. When you have a company like Tesla, which is very unorthodox, you have a very tuned-in CEO, you have a very competitive business sector. I mean, making cars and batteries and technology, all of those are very, very cutthroat, very thin margins. It's hard to be successful. And investors for a couple of years now have kind of looked at Tesla, who's been, just devouring these private loans from capital, from capital investors, and just trying to stay afloat in some months and some quarters. They've been looking at Tesla and saying, how much of this company, how much of this idea of a Tesla car is hype? How much of it is actually real and they're going to be able to put out a good product? And how much is it just, kind of a smoke and mirrors facade, that kind of deal? I don't want to say that, even though we're about to do this article, that one quarter turns the whole thing around. But it's nice to see their retractors kind of have to take a step back and say, oh, that's right. We can pick on them all we want. We can say that they aren't meeting expectations. They aren't doing things fast enough, good enough, that kind of thing. Which, hey, you can have high expectations. That is completely within your rights. But it comes more down to giving credit where credit is due. And Tesla has been able to do something that really not a lot of other car manufacturers can do. I mean, really, if you look at the landscape of cars, all of the car companies that were all started in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Like, no new car company is able to bust into the market quite like Tesla has been able to do. So credit where credit is due. Let's go ahead and talk about this. Saying that the company made $1.86 per share in the third quarter, smashing the analyst forecast for a loss. That's right. They made $2. And I know what you're thinking. Wow, how does that turn into such a huge bump in their stocks? Well, hey, making a little bit of money is infinitely better than losing any money. They said that it delivered 97,000 cars to customers in the period to 30th of September. Comfortably, there we go, surpassing the previous record of 95,356. So they were able to deliver almost 100,000 vehicles. It's amazing. The demand for Tesla is high. The ability to fulfill that demand is still struggling, but it looks like they're getting better and better. They said that Tesla nails it at last, and that is a chief market analyst for Markets.com. The results stand in contrast to the repeated large losses that the company has made since its inception, and in the second quarter, Tesla reported a loss of $408 million. Yeah, $400 million in a single quarter. And by the way, those losses were quarter over quarter. It happened a lot. And really, I don't blame them. I mean, I'm happy that either it's Elon Musk himself or it's someone else for the company is able to look at these investors and go, what we're doing here is not easy. It's not going to be a quick turnaround. We're not going to see record profits every single quarter, even with billions of dollars in investing. It's going to take time. And it looks like that time, at least for this quarter, has come. It said that in one sense, we shouldn't get too excited, noting that the much smaller profit of $143 million in the latest quarter and lower revenues compared to a year ago. But hey, they stopped the bleeding. They stopped the bleeding. That's a good thing. Tesla is pinning much of its hopes on the sustained profitability of the Model Y, which is, of course, their crossover. It's their SUV midsize, and it could outsell the S, the X, and the 3. So the Model 3, of course, being the more affordable $30,000, $35,000 model. The Model S, I believe, is their, kind of not their first. Like, I think they first came out with like the Tesla Roadster, but it was like it's still their supercar. Their X is their, what is the Tesla Model X? Let's see, Tesla Model X. That is it's their SUV. So it's their luxury SUV. And then, of course, this will be their kind of mid-size SUV crossover. There you go. SUVs have become very popular in US, Europe, and Canada, but most models still run on gas, leaving Tesla to cater to consumers looking for an all-electric alternative. And it's one of those things that when gas reaches a certain price point, when it's $2, $2.50, people get a little concerned, but they're not really too concerned about the price of fuel. And then when those gas prices go up to $3 and $4 and, forbid, $5 a gallon, which, by the way, is still very much less expensive than what our European neighbors have to pay for. When you have those high prices, that's when electric is all the rage. So if Tesla can make a selling point of, hey, we're still selling and we still have very high demand even when gas prices are low, when gas prices go back up, hey, you can tell it's going to be a good time for them. So the U.S. federal safety regulators are examining the features. Is examining the feature as videos have appeared online showing driverless Teslas running into obstacles or nearly hitting cars. And by the way, that is the smart summon feature. That's what I was referring to when you can have cars come to the driver. Mr. Musk said on Wednesday that the software updates over the coming weeks would improve Smart Summon, and trust me, that's kind of that's the point of Tesla, is that you're not just buying the car for today, you're buying the car for the future. So, yeah, very, very cool, and I'm happy that Tesla was able to, really, and by the way, this article didn't really talk about how much of a bump they saw, and let's go ahead and look at the 5-day. Oh, yep, there it is. So let's see. So duplicate, put on this monitor. If you're watching the video portion, you can see it here. Let's check out the 1 month. Let's see where they did well. Oh, yeah, right here, October 22nd. You're looking at a stock price of about $255, whereas as of the time of this reading, and of course right now, $300 per share. They went up about 20% in stock value over the course of just like 2 days. So it's amazing. It's great. Happy to see them up there. And hey, Computer America should never give financial advice because trust us, we will lose your money very, very quickly. But it's still good to see that investors are at least a little bit happy with what Tesla is doing. Although, as you can see here, by the 5-year, they still have a long way to go. They still have another $50 per share to go to reach some of their highs, but they're doing better. They've definitely bounced back. Okay, so there's that story. Let's go ahead and continue on to our next story. And how about we discuss? Okay, so the first one was all good news, definitely good for Tesla and all that good stuff. Let's talk about. And a lot of these are bad. I apologize ahead of time. I wish I had more, kind of these are happy, good stories. Let's talk about students. So this article from The Guardian has a certain lean to it, and I'm not even going to say it's Republicans versus Democrats. I'm going to focus on the tech side, and I'm just going to say politicians propose mass student surveillance plan to prevent shootings. This is going to be a hot take. Ladies and gentlemen, Computer America is against mass shootings, and especially mass shootings of students. That is a horrible thing. That should never happen. And I don't even want to do the useless platitudes of if you're feeling depressed, seek help, that kind of thing, because I think that effort is a much more hands-on effort than just a call to action. You should not be putting the onus on the individual who is feeling and thinking these thoughts. You should not put the onus on them to go out and seek help. Of course they should, but I can see how that would make people feel like a little bit more defeatist, like they're failing every time that they don't consult a professional when they have these thoughts. And I also don't think that you should put the onus on the friends and family for having to microanalyze, suddenly change profession from whatever they were doing before, suddenly to a psychologist, and they have to reach out to every acquaintance that they know and make sure that they aren't thinking any kind of horrible thoughts or that they're going to do anything. I don't think either of those really work. It's more of a comprehensive, hands-on, that kind of thing. It's a societal shift. But with that being said, mass shootings are bad. The prevention of them does not come in the form of mass surveillance, unfortunately. So this is, again, from The Guardian, and Ms. Lois Beckett, and saying that senators have a new plan for preventing mass shootings, require public schools to use surveillance technology to monitor students' online behavior for signs of violence and self-harm. Obviously, this is going to be breaking a few constitutional amendments, or not even amendments, a few constitutional rights, including the right to, illegal search and seizure and not to be surveilled upon. So they claim that to help prevent mass shootings, they include, there's nothing about the idea of gun control, but rather they are supporting a huge federally mandated boost to America's growing school surveillance industry. It's kind of sad that when you look at the technology going into schools nowadays, man, the same technology that you're seeing from prisons are being used more and more in schools. And I get it, it's to keep kids safe, and just like the justification that you give for implementing any kind of cavity searches or making you take your shoes off the airport or any other ridiculous thing, it's for your safety, it's against terrorism, it makes you feel good. The actual impact it has on these events, very minimal, but it makes you feel good. So I will say that the technology protection measure that detects online activity of minors who are at risk of committing self-harm or extreme violence against others. And by the way, this is called, as always, the legislation is called something that is very counter to what it is actually doing. So this is called the Children's Internet Protection Act. Man, that reminds me a lot of another thing that we as a society kind of struck down. And I don't know if you remember SOPA and PIPA. I know it's been years since we talked about SOPA and PIPA, but the Protect IP Act, or PIPA, and the Stop Online Piracy Act, SOPA, they weren't against self-harm and harm against others, but they were both being used as a way to surveil individuals. One of them was, of course, to stop Piracy Act, or SOPA, and the Protect IP, or Intellectual Property Act, or PIPA. Both of them were bills introduced that would monitor web traffic to such an extent, and they would require all internet traffic to be attributed to individuals, so that motion pictures or music and songs or video games or anything like that, they had to make sure that they weren't being illegally downloaded, even though the rates of even though the rates of these things being illegally downloaded really was not that severe, but it was still something that was proposed. Anyways, so SOPA PIPA got struck down. That was a whole ordeal years ago. Let's not bring that back up. But I will say it reminds me a lot of the of the Children's Internet Protection Act, or I guess SIPA at this point. A spokesperson for the senator did not immediately respond to a request for comments on why he and another senator are mandating that public schools adopt a new technology before there is any clear evidence that it's effective in preventing violence. Which, yeah, trust me, when I was in school just a couple of years ago, wow, it's almost been a decade, more than a decade, crazy. But when I was in high school, getting around firewalls was a daily activity. Of course, the IT department would crack down on any new ways that students were using to get through firewalls at school, and the students would just find another way. It was very much a game of cat and mouse, that the people who are surveilling or censoring information are always going to be on the back foot. They are always going to have the disadvantage that comes with playing goalkeeper as opposed to those making the shots. So I think that trying to do this in schools is one thing. Trying to mandate this for certain individuals at home is going to be nearly impossible that's even effective, let alone constitutional. So privacy advocates say pervasive surveillance is not appropriate for any educational setting, and that it may actually harm children, particularly students with disabilities and students of color who already are disproportionately targeted by school disciplinary measures. Yeah, and of course, when they say those who are, those who are going through these things and these issues, yeah, I can totally see where some of the risk factors may indeed be, just kind of symptoms of growing up in certain communities and households and things like that. And you are going to disproportionately target those who are already at risk, and those who are not at risk, but are just caught in the numbers game. So with that being said, I'm going to, let's see, I'm trying to see if there's any other, or if they get into how they're going to do this. One leading school surveillance company, Gaggle, says its technology is currently used to monitor 4.5 million students across 1,400 school districts. The company claims that its last academic year alone, its technology helped save the lives of more than 700 students who were planning or actually attempting suicide. Which, hey, kudos to them. If they can back up those numbers, if they can, confidently say that 700 students are still alive today thanks to their technology, that's great. What did it cost the 4.5 million students across 1,400 schools? Their complete privacy, also not good. Securely, another company says its products are used to protect 10 million students across 10,000 individual schools. In the past year, they said it helped officials intervene in 400 situations that presented an imminent threat, I'm sure, to the students themselves. But that's kind of what I mean, is that the numbers, of course, you can go with the sentiment that one life means everything, one is enough. If we save just one person, so on and so forth. That's great. But when you look at this, you're looking at 15 million students between these two companies alone, and there are more. They have one here that they said that they work with 1,400 school districts. The other company that worked with 1,400 had about 5 million students themselves. So let's go ahead and say that they have another 5 million students that they monitor. Let's say 20 million students are being surveilled by these companies that I don't know anything about them. I don't know what they do with the data. I don't know how they analyze it. I don't know how they determine who's at risk and who isn't. And overall, how effective is it really with suicide rates among teens and adolescents, increasing so much over the past 10 years? 20 million students, and they're able to stop, 1,000 individuals. And, let's just go ahead and say that they helped prevent 16 school shootings and detected 20,000 severe self-harm situations. But of course, you know, 20,000, they're able to detect that people were looking at that kind of information, not that they were able to prevent anything like that, or that they alerted the proper authorities. But still, let's even include that number. Let's just say 21,000 instances. 21,000 instances. That's including some of these numbers that probably weren't anything more than like a pop-up saying, hey, you need to go talk to someone. 20,000 for 20 million students. That's a lot of surveillance for not a lot of payoff. That still leaves, what is that? 19 million, what's that? About 19,900,000 or 980,000 students that were surveilled with no reason other than, hey, we could protect you. Trust me, this argument gets brought up so often in the privacy debate. If everyone shared everything to the authorities, and the authorities could sift through and look through anything and everything that every household in America is doing, trust me, they'd be able to stop all crime overnight. That's great. But that does not lead to a good society. That does not lead to a society that can function. We need our privacy. We need our ability to stay autonomous from the authorities, from the government, so on and so forth. We need that certain level that we can trust everyone else and say, hey, I have my own things going on. This is okay. I feel like even just talking about it in this way, I feel like I'm getting a little bit behind by saying that, but it stops so many tragedies from happening at school. Yes, I'm glad that they're able to do that. But I don't know if the numbers really work out. I don't know if making 30 million American travelers every year in airports across this country take off their shoes, I don't know how many that's really prevented, you know? It's just hard to know if it's really worth the effort. So there you go. I'm not a fan of the legislation. If you didn't pick up on that, not a fan of the legislation, and definitely hope that this does not become more of a thing, because monitoring students when they're already at that age in their lives, and when they're still trying to discover themselves, I don't know. It seems like a risky proposition. I'll just talk about this one real quick because, I spent a lot of time on a lot of other topics. The White House. I know, more politics. You're so excited. But I will say, anyone who has worked in any kind of professional setting where they had to do cybersecurity, one of the big problems that I've seen, and I've talked to a lot of security professionals here on this program, one problem that you can run into is that when you have a changing of your cybersecurity officials, you have this thing where certain professionals are going to take certain things more seriously than others, be that through their training, their education, their experience. Having one individual with a very clear understanding of the issues and developing your cybersecurity plan is very important. And to be able to stick with that plan over a period of time is the only way you're going to implement either making sure that all of your access points are secured, making sure all your servers are, protected, making sure that, your employees are using good sanitary passwords. Just so much. If you have this mill where you just kind of churn through your professionals, it's not going to be good, because every one of them is going to come through and say, passwords really aren't the big issue. It's about clicking links in emails. And then you have another one that says, emails and phishing links and things like that, they're important, but they're not as important as passwords. And they're going to implement policies that are counterproductive to what the previous appointee was going to do. So this is the only reason I bring this up, is that The White House, and this was just posted a couple hours ago from The Insider, saying that an internal memo warns that the White House may get hacked again because so many cybersecurity officials have resigned. And that's a problem, is that when you have that turnover, no one's going to do everything the exact same as the previous one. And yeah, it's a problem. They said that I foresee the White House, and this is a quote here from Dimitrios Vastaki. Vastaki. There we go. I foresee the White House is posturing itself to be electronically compromised once again. And he's a branch chief of the White House Computer Network Defense Unit, and he said that in a memo just a couple of days ago. So they said that the current administration folded the office in July, folded the office into the office of the Chief Information Officer, which diminished the former office's power and responsibilities at the White House. And of course, they're talking about the office of, this was the office of the Chief Information Security Officer, who of course was folded into the other branch. So at least a dozen of top or high-level officials from the former office have resigned or been pushed out since, and the memo served as his resignation letter. He says that they are systematically being targeted for removal and allowing for a large portion of institutional knowledge to concurrently walk right out the front door seems contrary to the best interests of the mission and the organization as a whole. You have an entire section who's dedicated to providing counter-threat intelligence information. If you remove that, it's like the Wild West again. So we're going to go ahead, kind of wrap that one up, but I just want you to know that for all of you IT security professionals who are working out there and listening to the program, it happens at all levels. It happens with small, medium business. It happens with large enterprise. It happens with government. And it happens, yes, even in the White House, that you don't have a singular plan to protect our cyber information. So it could be rough, and let's hope that the White House does not get hacked again. They just need someone who's going to be in there for a number of years and really take all of the concerns very seriously and have a thoughtful plan, not this continuous shift. So there's that one. Let's go ahead and continue on here. And this is a story I've been dreading coming out, but it was finally released by The Verge. Foxconn. Yes, that Foxconn, the one that makes all the iPhones, finally admits its empty Wisconsin innovation centers aren't being developed. And you can see a picture of of it here. And this is by Mr. Nick Statt over at The Verge. Electronics manufacturer Foxconn promised Wisconsin innovation centers, which are to employ hundreds of people in the state if they ever get built, are officially on hold after spending months empty and unused as the company focused on meeting revised deadlines on the LCD factory it promised and would now open by, next year. The news reported earlier by the Wisconsin Public Radio is another inexplicable twist in the nearly 2-year train wreck that is the Foxconn U.S. manufacturing plans. For those of you who don't know, why is this such a big deal? Well, Foxconn promised that they would, and this is a way to escape tariffs, to bring jobs back to America. Trust me, we've heard a lot of promises. I will say that they promised 13,000 jobs to its initial Wisconsin electronics manufacturing factory. 13,000 well-paying manufacturing jobs. That's a big deal. That's something that changes the entire economy of a city, even of a state. I can see where Wisconsin would totally love the idea of 13,000 people getting good wages. Now, of course, this is not what happened. Instead, here we are, empty factories, and we're still under construction. And by the way, the innovation centers, they would employ people to train others, and they would provide training for high-skilled manufacturing jobs. And they promised as many as 500 of these innovation centers with 100 to 200 people working in each of these centers. So that's another, at most, 500 times 200 is something like another 100,000 people at most. And that's at the tippy top of what they could have promised. It could have been just another 50,000 people or even less. But currently, we're looking at 0. Okay, and take that back. 5. I'm sorry, 5. I read those all wrong. 1 to 200 employees, in some cases up to 500 employees, with 5 of these innovation centers. So this could have been up to a total of another 2,500 jobs. Yeah, I thought 100,000 seemed like a lot. 2,500 additional jobs. Potentially. It was probably going to be less, but still, add that on top of 13,000, Milwaukee could have brought in a lot. And here's the part that gets me. Just like when Amazon is shopping for a second headquarters, just like when Apple wants to build their new campus, just like when any of these multi-billion-dollar companies who should be able to pay their way through any kind of financial or legislative or any kind of red tape, they're the ones who are supposed to be carrying the brunts of this. Instead, they get billions in dollars in tax breaks and incentives. And this is from the governor of the state that promised the company back in 2017. Yet, after purchasing a building in Milwaukee and announcing plans to build centers in other Wisconsin states, Foxconn has done virtually nothing with the plans. They said that the buildings that Foxconn had purchased were empty, and a report by the company disputed without providing any specific corrections or evidence to the contrary, and the company still hasn't provided any 200 days later. That should be enough time to go in and say, oh, yeah, we're waiting on the chairs. No, not so much. So according to Wisconsin Public Radio, Foxconn has installed an HVAC system in one of the 2 buildings it said it would purchase in Eau Claire, but no additional work had been completed. That's about the extent of it. It's pretty minimal. So some of these, beyond the halted innovation centers, Foxconn general Wisconsin plans are similar in flux. The company announced a partnership in September with an automated coffee kiosk company to help manufacture its product domestically, with plans to add the coffee kiosk to its manufacturing contracts for the planned Mount Pleasant factory. But again, here's the thing. The factory doesn't exist. Or at least not yet, but the company is now hiring or aiming to open it in 2020 after repeatedly shifting its deadline. It's also reduced the planned number of jobs from the original 13,000 jobs to a 1,500 employee. 1,500. This is less than 1/10 of the employees that were promised. They said that earlier this month, the company announced, scrapped, and then re-announced plans to build a giant 9-story glass orb that would serve as a data center. I think this is what Foxconn does. They are very good at hanging the carrot out there, but then they're also very good at taking the very, very painful and large stick and beating any poor, defenseless little rabbit that pokes his head out trying to eat the carrot. Wisconsin, I really do feel like, is getting taken for a ride. Foxconn is very confident in its production abilities overseas in China. They're very close to the Chinese government. They have a lot of huge manufacturing contracts with the likes of Apple and Google, and really almost every single smartphone or any major electronics that is produced to any kind of scale is made at Foxconn. They don't need to manufacture these things in America. Makes you feel good, and trust me, the billions in dollars in tax credits that they're getting feel really, really good. And of course, the incentives for building these things. But if they can find some way to do the bare minimum and keep all the tax breaks and incentives for delivering, again, a tenth of the jobs, they're going to do it. By God, of course they're going to do it. So I would be utterly shocked. You can clip this, you can record this, and you can save this. I would be shocked if the company is going to open a factory in 2020, by mid-2020, and it's going to employ the full 1,500 people. I would be amazed if they could actually do that. Time will tell. Time will tell. Let's go ahead and continue on to our next story here. We have time for maybe one, maybe two more. How about we talk about... All right, here we go. Ubisoft. Let's talk some video games real quick. So this is from Engadget, saying that, and by the way, Chris Holt wrote the article, Ubisoft is delaying almost every game it has announced. What's happening? What's up with that? They said that Watch Dogs Legion, Gods and Monsters, and Rainbow Six Quarantine will arrive late 2020, while Skull and Bones won't debut until at least 2021. What the heck? Ubisoft is delaying several major games on its upcoming slate. Watch Dogs Legion has been set for March 6th, and Gods and Monsters has a release date of February 25th. While Rainbow Six Quarantine had also been earmarked for the first quarter of 2020, these games will now arrive in the second half of next year. The publisher made the call to push them back in the wake of disappointing sales performances of Ghost Recon Breakpoint and The Division 2. For those of you who don't know, I heard about these games. I saw them. The Division 2 looked pretty good. It was one of those things that if you were playing The Division, great, you loved it. The problem is the user base for The Division had fallen steeply already. And you can't just have a game that's just going to excite the current player base. You need a game that's going to excite new players. So I can see why they're not getting too excited. And I think Ghost Recon Breakpoint just seemed like another Ghost Recon game. It's hard to get excited about that. See, the CEO of the company suggested in a conference call that Ubisoft didn't wait long enough between sequels for those games to have more of an impact, saying that, quote, "We feel it's due to the fact that people have been able to play those games for a long time and experiencing that gameplay for a long time. We need to wait longer for something that is more differentiated." Yes and no. I feel like if you are just holding onto a game that's still not in active development and you simply have it under lock and key waiting for people to get tired of your old games, that's a very dangerous strategy, because people are going to go out and find other games to play that maybe scratch that same itch. You are essentially leaving a window for your competition. The other part is, if the games aren't different enough, why the heck are you releasing them? And why do you think that just waiting is going to fix the problem? Maybe the games need some new gameplay. Maybe there needs to be a rework of some systems. Maybe there just needs to be something different about these games that make people want to play them. If it's just the same thing over and over again, and you acknowledge that people have been able to play these games for a long time, and just more of the same isn't cutting it, why do you keep doing more of the same? And why do you think more of the same over a longer period is the answer? Seems risky. As such, Ubisoft giving the development team on Gods and Monsters, Rainbow Six Quarantine, and Watch Dogs Legion more time to work on these games to ensure that their respective innovations are perfectly implemented so as to deliver optimal experiences for players. Okay. That quote is exactly what I was saying. You can't just put them under kind of under wraps for 6 months and wait for something new to come out. No, you need to keep developing these things and really trying to change them and differentiate them from one iteration of the game to the next. And like I said, Ghost Recon Breakpoint and The Division 2, both of them were sequels. Both of them were, advances on the previous iteration of the game, but it just felt like an expansion. It didn't really feel like another, kind of a new game. So they previously delayed Skull and Bones, its multiplayer pirate game, from this fall until 2021. In the conference call, Ubisoft confirmed it's delaying that title again to the following fiscal year, and Ubisoft is planning to release 5 AAA games in the next fiscal year. They said that they can expect 2 titles from Ubisoft's biggest franchises, and yeah, they said that's probably a new Assassin's Creed and new Far Cry, and it's unclear what that might mean for Beyond Good and Evil 2. So the postponements are likely to have a significant impact on their revenues for the current financial year. So obviously, if they don't have any of the, any big sequels coming out for any of their big franchises, yeah, that's not going to look too good on them. But it's needed. Even if they take a hit today and they give developers more time to work, I'm kind of okay with that. I'm sure that the company can hold, can hold it together until next fiscal year. So there you go. If you were really looking forward to that, bad news, but also good news in a way. Let's hope they can live up to the hype. How about we talk about Toyota? And Toyota has a self-driving car to an extent. So Toyota will offer rides in its self-driving cars at the Tokyo Olympics. I've said this before. If you want to see the most entertaining, fun, weird Olympics, the Olympics given to the Japanese is going to be something that is just, I love it. I love the idea of what's going to happen. And I really do like self-driving cars, so this makes all the more sense. Toyota has revealed details of its upcoming public test for its Level 4 automated vehicle and the chauffeur self-driving technology. They said that the automaker is offering rides in the car between July and September in the busy waterfront district of that place. The complex environment of pedestrians, vehicle traffic, diverse road infrastructure, and tall glass buildings in that area of Metropolis will pose a challenging setting in which to demonstrate the capability. The automaker will open up applications for members of the public who'd like to hitch a ride in the Level 4 vehicle, which is based on a Lexus LS 500H sedan. Per Japanese law, a safety driver will be behind the wheel, ready to take control if needed. Toyota is getting the P4 ready for the test by replicating some of the more challenging infrastructure and testing it at their facility in Ottawa Lake, Michigan. And testing is still taking place in all places all over the US, actually. So Toyota testing out self-driving chauffeur technology that could hopefully, potentially, if they get this working well enough, think about the mass human migrations that are going to happen for the Olympics. I mean, this is going to be a huge, huge event with tens or hundreds of thousands of people and support staff and spectators. If you can have these cars that are very efficient, operate 24 hours a day perfectly, and they're all automated, so hey, you get to save a bit of that workforce, although they have to have safety drivers, but what are you going to do? This could be a huge boon for actually getting people where they need to go during the 2020 Olympics in Japan, in Tokyo. Looking forward to it. All right, so we don't have much more time trying to figure out anything else that is really all that noteworthy. How about we talk about all right, I'm all about Blizzard. I love Blizzard, even though they've been messing up for the past couple of weeks here. I do have to say that new blood's always good. Former Xbox executive Mike Ybarra is Blizzard's new GM, of course, general manager. And they said that they have revealed his next role, saying he's as executive vice president and general manager. He'll step into the job just after BlizzCon, which takes place next weekend. Boy, I can't wait. BlizzCon is just going to be so much fun. Ybarra has been at Microsoft for 20 years. He was corporate vice president of Xbox Live, Game Pass, and Mixer. And he said he's making the move while Blizzard is in the midst of a public relations firestorm. The controversy stated, of course, for suspending the Hearthstone Pro over he pledged support for the Hong Kong protesters. And he departed Microsoft just after the contentious situation erupted. So, strike while the iron is hot. He, of course, coming in at a very tumultuous time, but it's still going to be I think a great fit for someone who's been in the game industry for so long. Hopefully, Mike Ybarra, you do very well. Okay, that's just about it. Let me just recap some things. Hey, there's music, perfect timing. ComputerAmerica.com. We had kind of a refresh, a redo. If you want to check out Computer America and what it looks like, definitely recommend that you do that. And you can see that there. We have some recent articles, reviews. Our latest review is, of course, of the pale blue batteries, rechargeable batteries. Trust me, they are better than most, if not all, of the other rechargeable batteries that we have talked about. Yeah, and if you're watching the video portion, you can see what it looks like right there. So, with that being said, everyone, thank you for tuning into Computer America. Be sure to catch us 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. And, hey, we'll definitely be sure to catch you next time. Until then, have a great day. Thank you so much. And, hey, join us here tomorrow. And, by the way, tomorrow on the program, just squeeze this in real quick, should be none other than Popzara's Nathan Evans. Always a fun show. Look forward to that. Catch you then. Bye, everyone.